Okay, the next. Okay, now we switch to EURORDIS communication. So, Virginie, are you connected?
Hello, hi, can you hear?
I will leave the screen. Okay, so that you can share your own screen.
Okay, sorry, I thought, give me a second then, I thought it was integrated into the main.
Oh, sorry, maybe it is. I go back.
It's activated, it's in it.
Oh, sorry, I'll reshare.
Sorry, I'm not sharing my camera because the weather is really bad, and so it's to save some bandwidth as well. So if I turn it on, it's going to slow it down. Apologies.
Where are you?
Right here.
Good.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very much for inviting me to present the patient partnership guide with you today. So I just wanted to first give you a bit of context. So this guide was written with the help of a multi-stakeholder working group. The group itself was established in December 2019, and we met virtually between January and June this year. The group is composed of 7 patient representatives. We have also national funders from different member states and also 1 expert in medical sociology. So really everybody brought a relevant expertise and experience, but from different sectors and backgrounds as well. And everything really helped create this guide. I think you can go next slide. Also, this guide was developed in the context of the European Joint Programme on Rare Diseases. As I'm sure you're all aware, from 2019, the joint transnational calls of the EJP enable patient organizations to apply as fundable partners, so they could also request a budget in line and with the roles and responsibility described in the proposal. But I think that for us, that first experience of 2019 actually provided the evidence that there was a need for the provisional development of a guide to really support the applicant better describe the role and the added value of patient partnerships in research proposals. So indeed, this guide is a bit of a mix between example of best practices and also some guidance with a goal to provide inspiration for more relevant patient partnership in basic science type of research project, because we are aware of several initiatives that provide really helpful guidance to encourage patient engagement, but in clinical research or in projects aiming more at medicine development. But there is not so much out there in terms of really providing guidance for basic research type of project or for project for which the benefit of patients is a bit more longer term than if it was clinical research or clinical trials. So I think you can go to the next slide, please. And the next one, that's just to give you the idea of the structure of the guide. We can next. Thank you. So first, we wanted to really be a bit clearer in terms of what we mean by using the different terms of participation, engagement, and involvement. And this is not to be A&all and to say you have to use those definitions, but it was really to help provide a bit more of an overview of the multitude of ways in which you can engage patients in research projects. So when we talk about participation, we mean where patients take part in the research study as subjects, so as participants in a research project, or if they also help support recruitment for patient subjects in research. Engagement is where patients are a bit more involved in and co-create some information for communication or dissemination, and also are involved in the actual dissemination activities. And involvement is seen a little bit more as the holy grail of patient partnership, if you like. So it's where patients or patient representatives are actively involved in a research project. And by that, we mean where research is carried out with or by patients, rather than to, about, or for them. So I should also mention that this we adapted slightly this definition, but they already existed, and those are based from the NIHR Involve program in the UK. Next slide, please. So for us, these three concepts should really be seen as a continuum of increasing levels of active and meaningful partnership. So none of them should be discouraged, even the patient participation, which is seen a bit maybe as more passive compared to engagement, being active, and patient involvement being really proactive. But all are important and all have their place in different projects. So for us, also patient involvement means it's for example, the cases where patients are involved as co-investigators or official partner in research projects. So they really contribute to the identification of the needs of the research, the direction, the design, and the development, and even can be involved in writing the proposal itself as well, or specific sections anyway. Next, please. So there are actually multiple benefits of a well thought out and designed plan for patient partnerships in research projects. And these are just a few examples. If you take motivation and focus, so if you go back, so go next slide. Yes, thank you. If you take the example of motivation and focus, so hearing from people living with a specific rare disease can really provide researchers with meaning and context, which they didn't necessarily envisage before. It can also generate new ideas, obviously. So talking to wider groups of patient representative or patients support group, particularly in the early stage of research, can help to identify novel challenges and ideas. And this can come from the subtle nuance that only a patient or a carer would know from living with a rare disease. It can also obviously provide greater relevance. So involving patients actually sometimes can ensure that researchers demonstrate accountability of public money investment as the research results translate into concrete benefits and address patient needs. Next slide, please. So this has also been taken from the work done at Imperial College and within the NIHR Involve program. And it's to try, and again, it's another way to show different possibilities of involving patients. But this time it's been structured along the different stages of the research cycle. So I'm not going to go into details because you can find all the information into the guide, but it was just a different way, again, of showing possibilities for patient partnerships at all the different stages of the research cycle. Next, please. So we also included within the guide some concrete and real life example of research project and of patient partnerships. So I just picked up two here. The first project is about a personalized medicine for a rare disease. So in this one, patient organizations were involved in both the study design as well as the project monitoring. So for example, in the project monitoring, patient organizations were included as members of the steering on the governing board and also involved in co-organizing the kickoff meeting or the annual conferences. So they were not involved just as participants, but they were involved in the program committee, as session chair, speakers, or other capacity. And the other project, so if you just click one more, it's more of a social and sciences type of research project, and it's a French project where the applicants really wanted to increase the inclusion of children with rare diseases at school. So in this one, they involved 3 different patient organizations, and all participated in the implementation of the experimental scenario, which was then used to assess the teachers' training. And they were also involved in the activity itself by participating in the setting up of the training and the information materials. Next slide, please. So yes, thank you. And avoiding the common pitfalls. So these are really some, again, snapshots of some of the concepts, or not concept, but maybe statements that the applicant put in their research proposal. And this comes from the perspective of the evaluation panel members that review and assess those applications. So very often they come across a recurrent misconception or misunderstanding. So we try to extract some of the most current one and also provide some advice in terms of how to address them. So very often we see that applicants say patient engagement is not applicable or relevant to the proposed project. And it might be true, although a bit difficult to agree with, because really no matter how complicated or technical the research is, rarely patient cannot contribute at all, at least in the, in the co-design of the communication material, especially if it's targeted at patients, but not only. And in any case, it's very important to justify, so to ensure that the applicant have thought about different ways, but still, and it's possible that they could not include patient partnership in such project. Next, please. I'm not going to go through all of them, but for example, also like a bit of a generic statement, patient organizations have been involved in the design of the study. That's great, but it's very important to maybe explain how this has been achieved and also what has changed as a result of that engagement or involvement, whether they improve the design of the study or maybe also change direction slightly, which is also a possibility. Next slide, please. And yes, I mentioned that already, so we can go to the next one and the next one. Sorry. So this checklist is really just indicative and it's not meant to be prescriptive because different points might apply to some project and not others. So it really is there to serve as a reminder, again, of what the evaluation panel will be looking for. And sorry, you can click one more. So I just extracted some points, but again, so as a reminder, but also to provide maybe some ideas to the applicant in terms of, again, how they could engage with patient partnership on different aspects and stages of the research project itself. And then I think it's almost my last, not quite, but almost my last slide. Also, at the end, we collected quite a few different testimonials of both researchers and patients who had been engaged in patient partnership together. And we included one, so that's from Professor Just Odenrop and Antonio Cantero as well. They were successful in a project submitted in 2019, joint transnational calls. And the project is about improving the understanding of disease mechanism in patients with specific mutations. So it's quite a lengthy testimonial, but it's really informative in terms of really hearing firsthand from the perspective of the researchers as well as from the patients, their experience on the partnership and both also the added value that it has from a researcher perspective as well as a patient perspective. And next slide, please. Yes, and that is the list of the members of the working group, who I'd like to thank again very much for their help. It was a great experience, and we will be continuing a little bit that work as well by potentially updating the guide if needs to be, based on the experience of the joint transnational calls, but also on other research call in which patient partnership are encouraged and can happen. So. We will be updating it and also maybe organizing some webinars to try and engage with the community a bit more on that aspect. So I think you can go to the next slide, and it's just to show you where to go if you have any question about this guide. So you can contact the EJPRD help desk directly. And obviously, if you have any question right now, I'm more than happy to answer them. So thank you very much for your attention, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Sorry, I had some difficulties to open my microphone. So I have few questions. We are perfectly in time this afternoon, so we have time for discussing. I think it's very important in ITHACA that we shared with families